Listen up, because you are about to hear the most devastating truth about modern dating, and society will crucify you for even acknowledging it. They tell you a woman's past doesn't matter. They chant the mantra, what happens before you is irrelevant. They tell you that sexual experience is empowerment, that a high partner count is a sign of freedom, and that any man who questions it is just insecure and controlling. This isn't just a lie. It is a destructive, naive fantasy that is actively poisoning the well of marriage. I'm here to tell you that a woman's sexual past is not just relevant. It is the single greatest predictor of your future failure. The myth of the irrelevant past ignores one fundamental, brutal reality. Female biology is not compartmentalized like a man's. When a man has a fling, his brain can register it as purely physical. When a woman engages in high-intensity casual sex, especially with the charismatic, low-commitment men she perceives as alphas, her brain does something irreversible. It releases a flood of powerful bonding hormones, primarily oxytocin. Her brain registers this experience as the peak standard for excitement, passion, and arousal. The problem? This high-intensity experience permanently damages her pair bonding mechanism. It's not a moral issue, it's a neurochemical certainty. Every new casual partner, every peak sexual experience outside a committed bond, stretches the bonding circuit like a rubber band that loses its elasticity. It makes her incapable of settling into the quiet, supportive love of a stable, long-term provider. Once a woman has been imprinted by a peak alpha experience, she is psychologically and chemically programmed to compare every subsequent man, especially the kind, stable one she marries, to that historical high. You think you're marrying a partner. You're actually entering into a constant, unwinnable competition with her past. You are fighting against a chemical addiction to novelty and a subconscious standard you could never meet. The result is predictable: perpetual dissatisfaction in the marriage, emotional withdrawal, and an inevitable search for the passion she lost. That is why the statistics are clear. A history of high partner count is a flashing red signal for eventual divorce. We are going to reveal the neurochemical damage that guarantees this failure. You can choose to believe the social lie, or you can prepare for the biological certainty. The choice is yours. Let's dive past the judgment and into the cold, hard science of neurochemistry. To understand the alpha widow effect, you must accept that the female brain is a sensitive, complex biological machine that can be permanently recalibrated or damaged by high-intensity experiences. The oxytocin overload. When a woman engages in sex, her brain releases a flood of powerful bonding hormones, oxytocin and vasopressin. These aren't just feel-good chemicals, they are the literal neuroglue that evolved to cement the maternal-child bond and, secondarily, the pair bond with the provider. Here is the critical distinction. This hormone response is triggered most potently by intensity, novelty, and the perceived high status of the man. When she sleeps with a charismatic, thrilling, low-commitment man, the peak alpha experience, her brain interprets this as securing the highest possible genetic match. It floods the system with an overdose of bonding hormones. This encounter isn't just sex, it's a chemical imprinting. Her brain stamps this man, this peak intensity, as the gold standard for sexual and romantic fulfillment. Now, imagine this pair bonding mechanism like a delicate rubber band. This band is designed to stretch and hold a single, primary attachment firmly in place for years, the evolutionary ideal for raising children. Every time a woman engages in casual, high-intensity sex with a new partner, that rubber band is stretched and violently snapped back. It releases that hormone flood, creating a deep but ultimately shallow, temporary bond. The first few times, the band returns to its shape. But with repeated, high-intensity stretching, especially with multiple partners, the rubber band loses its elasticity. It becomes frayed, thin, and worn out. When she finally tries to form a deep, lasting bond with a stable, kind man, the man who would be a reliable, long-term provider, The bonding mechanism can no longer snap tight. It registers the stable, quiet, secure love as dull and low intensity because it is constantly being compared to the chemical fireworks of her past. This is the damaged circuit board. The circuitry designed for long-term, low-key, sustainable love has been short-circuited by novelty addiction. The stable man can provide patience, loyalty, and financial security, but he can never provide the chemical high that her brain now demands. This leads to the perpetual dissatisfaction that plagues long-term relationships for the alpha widow. She looks at her kind husband and feels nothing. Her brain is essentially saying, "Error, signal too weak, abort mission." She becomes restless, irritated, and convinced that her husband is the problem, when in fact the neurochemistry of her past has made her incapable of feeling true, deep contentment with stability. She is chasing a chemical phantom. You can't outcompete a memory in a damaged neuroreceptor. You can only acknowledge the damage. Let's stop debating feelings and look at the data. If the alpha widow effect is just a theory, then the statistics should be neutral. But they aren't. They are a glaring neon sign confirming the damage. Studies examining the link between a woman's partner count and subsequent marital stability reveal a devastating, unmistakable truth. The higher the number of sexual partners a woman has before marriage, the higher the likelihood of divorce. This isn't about moral judgment, it's risk assessment. By the time a woman has crossed a threshold often cited as 5 or more partners, her chances of divorce are statistically compromised. For those with 10 or more, the odds of maintaining a lasting monogamous bond drop off a cliff. Because you are not marrying a woman, you are marrying her neurological history. You are trying to build a stable structure on a foundation that has been structurally compromised. Meet Chloe. Chloe was the textbook example of modern empowerment. Her 20s were a self-described wild phase. Charismatic partners, high passion, low commitment. She sampled the best the genetic marketplace offered. By 32, she decided she was ready to settle down. She married Mark, the kind, stable, successful guy. The ATM. Mark was everything a woman claims to want, loyal, dependable, and devoted. But 6 years into the marriage, Chloe was restless. The sex with Mark was fine, but it was predictable. The affection was reliable, but it lacked the terrifying, high-stakes novelty of her past flings. Mark was present, the alpha experience was absent. This wasn't conscious infidelity, it was subconscious withdrawal. Chloe found Mark's jokes annoying. His predictable schedule felt suffocating. She started fabricating fights, subconsciously creating the drama and intensity her brain craved, the only way her damaged circuit board could register emotional engagement. She grew cold, finding excuses to avoid intimacy. Why? Because sex with Mark, the steady provider, failed to produce the chemical firework display she had become addicted to in her past. She was perpetually comparing the warm, steady light of Mark to the blinding, destructive flash of the alpha ghost imprinted in her memory. When Chloe initiated the divorce, she told Mark the usual cliches. "I need to find myself. We've grown apart." The marriage was doomed from the start. Chloe's history had created an impossible standard, a chemical profile of peak arousal and novelty that Mark, the man of commitment and stability, could never and should never try to meet. The divorce wasn't a failure of Mark's love or loyalty. It was a statistically predictable outcome of Chloe's neurochemical past. Mark was trying to build a home with a woman whose internal compass was permanently calibrated to chase excitement and novelty. You can't fix neurological damage with flowers and devotion. You can only learn to recognize the signs and avoid the risk. Let's talk about the defense mechanism society uses to hide this biological truth. Gaslighting. The moment a man dares to acknowledge the statistical risk we just discussed, the link between high partner count and marital failure, he is immediately attacked. He's not called cautious, he's called insecure. He's not called a risk assessor, he's called controlling or misogynistic. This social shaming, fueled by modern sexual liberation narratives, is designed to punish men for seeing reality. The system needs you to shut up and accept the risk. Why? Because if men universally chose to protect their interests and their peace by avoiding women with a damaged bonding history, the current dating market and the entire divorce industry would instantly collapse. This gaslighting creates a cruel, impossible paradox for the stable, kind man, the man who is genuinely ready for commitment. You are expected to accept a woman's past unconditionally. You are expected to believe the lie that her neurochemistry and her expectations are reset the moment she says, "I do." But while you are pouring your loyalty, your resources, and your future into the marriage, she is subconsciously comparing your reliable, supportive love to the ghost of her past. You are competing against a phantom. You are competing against the chemically imprinted memory of the high-intensity, low-commitment man, the one who gave her the biggest oxytocin hit, the one who didn't call, and whose unavailability created thrilling drama. Your steady, reliable love can never replicate that peak chemical experience. You are giving her certainty, which her damaged brain reads as boredom. You are giving her security, which her brain interprets as stagnation. She will unconsciously weaponize that phantom. When she feels restless, she won't blame her own damaged circuit board, she will blame you. She'll say, "You don't make me feel seen," or "I need passion in my life." You run yourself ragged trying to fix a flaw that isn't yours. You try to be more exciting, more dramatic, less predictable. You try to emulate the alpha ghost. And you fail every time because your stability is the very thing she needs but can no longer appreciate. This ensures your eventual failure. Society tells you that your failure is due to a lack of effort. The truth is, your failure was guaranteed by the damage done before you ever met her. The system is rigged to force the stable man to pay the price for the empowered choices of his partner. Until you reject the gaslighting, you are just a willing victim in a game where the only predictable outcome is your own heartbreak and depletion. We have broken down the neurochemistry, exposed the statistics, and revealed the societal gaslighting. You now understand that ignoring a woman's past is not a sign of maturity. It is an act of self-sabotage rooted in naivete. This is not a moral lecture. This is risk management. You are a man building a stable future, and you must protect your emotional, financial, and psychological capital from unnecessary exposure. To navigate a market where bonding mechanisms are chemically compromised, your mandate must be absolute. Demand transparency, reject deception. The era of accepting ambiguity about a partner's past is over. You must recognize that a woman who aggressively hides or lies about her sexual history is already indicating a lack of trust and respect for your need for data. Demand transparency, and treat any defensive secrecy as the red flag it is. Your peace is worth more than her comfort. Avoid the damaged circuit board. Seeking a partner with a stable, low-intensity dating history is not insecurity, it is biological literacy. You are not judging her worth, you are assessing the viability of her bonding mechanism. Look for women whose lives show a track record of forming deep, lasting, stable bonds, not those who display a history of trading partners for novelty and high-intensity flings. Recognize the signs of perpetual dissatisfaction. If she is constantly restless, consistently comparing your life to the dramatic, chaotic lives of others, or incapable of sustained gratitude for peace and security, she is already an alpha widow. Cut your losses before the divorce courts do it for you. You cannot cure an addiction to novelty with stability. Pay the price or walk away. The truth is that you can choose to ignore the neurochemistry, but you will pay the price for her past. You will be the steady, loyal man who pours his life into a relationship only to be measured against a phantom, idealized experience you can never replicate. You will be blamed for her boredom. You will fund her emotional crisis. Therefore, the ultimate act of self-preservation is to choose wisely or choose isolation. Do not enter a contract where the terms are rigged and the failure is statistically guaranteed. Prioritize your inner peace, your purpose, and your assets. Let other men fund the biological consequences of the dating market. Protect your future. Choose wisely, or prepare to be perpetually measured and found wanting. The choice is yours.